Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, with a review of The Purge, released in 2013 and written/directed by James DeMonico. Yep, another Ethan Hawke movie. My next review will be Boyhood. Anyway, the Purge series is pretty well known by now for its high-concept premise. In the near future, a political party called the New Founding Fathers shapes the USA into a seeming utopia by making crime legal for one day of the year.
Pete from Northern Virginia, what's your purge plan?
I'm gonna hunt down my boss. That son of a bitch has it coming.
The first film in the franchise takes place in the far-off future of 2022? Huh, that doesn't sound good. Well, the first film centers around Ethan Hawke's character, James Sandin, a wealthy family man who makes a living selling high-tech security systems, especially to the neighbors in his gated community.
System is working without a hitch. You're gonna be locked in tight tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Fox, safe night.
With these security systems having only one real purpose, to protect people during the Purge.
You know your husband sold a new security system to almost every home in this community. This neighborhood paid for that new addition on your home.
There's some pretty good world building and social commentary in the film's opening scenes. You get a sense of the disparity between the upper and lower classes in this new Purge world. Propaganda on TV constantly states that the Purges work.
The Purge not only contains societal violence to a single evening, but the countrywide catharsis creates psychological stability.
They allow people to release all their negative impulses in one night so they aren't compelled to fucking murder people randomly the rest of the year, I guess. And the population is thinned out, but, of course, the Purges favor the wealthy over the poor. It's transparently an excuse for the elite to ritualistically murder the less fortunate.
Purge detractors often postulate this evening is actually about the elimination of the poor, the needy, the sick.
An apt metaphor for what the rich do to the poor the rest of the year, and the murders are aired on TV for anybody else who wants their sick kicks.
We're just gonna lock down, watch some Purge events, nothing special.
The concept and social commentary is really interesting, but this first Purge film ultimately is confined to a single house, revolving around the Sandin family, who initially are sitting pretty during the latest Purge, but some difficulties emerge that ruin the holiday for everyone. The Sandin daughter is seeing an older boy her father doesn't approve of, who sneaks into the house in secret.
Thinks you're too old for me. Talking to him is only gonna make him more angry, and he'll make it more difficult for us.
Meanwhile, the youngest, the Sandin son, who looks like a mini Tommy Wiseau and who is also apparently Sid from Toy Story, well, he allows an injured homeless victim of the Purge sanctuary in the Sandin household. Oh, and, well, the boyfriend also tries to murder Ethan Hawke, but that kid dies like a fucking bitch, while our boy Ethan sustains only minor injuries.
Eddie!
So, you know, this isn't the best way a Purge can play out, but it gets worse when the local privileged college kids show up wearing spooky Tom Cruise masks at the Sandin home.
Mr. and Mrs., the man you're sheltering is nothing but a dirty homeless pig. The pig doesn't know his place, and now he needs to be taught a lesson. You need to return him to us.
Demanding that the Sandins relinquish the partially murdered homeless man, or else everybody in the house is gonna get killed, and possibly also raped.
Come look at little lady Sandin. She's exquisite. Save her from me.
The Purge has a cool concept, and I've never watched these movies before, so I can only hope that the sequels do this concept better justice, because this first Purge movie is just a pretty standard home invasion flick where the premise is mostly used to just get around the police not being called, while using a jingoistic, elitist, cultist mentality purely as set dressing.
Your home tells me you're good folk, just like us. One of the halves. And your blue flowers tell me that you support the Purge.
The movie's just really dull. It's lacking a sense of urgency or suspense, while the film reminds you of its cool premise by having one of the assholes outside chew the scenery with overly dramatic monologues about how their murder of a homeless veteran is righteous.
That piece of filth that you are protecting exists only to serve our need to purge!
It's way too hokey, even though it probably is what Purge people would actually be like.
So I bid thee farewell, sweet Sandin.
I know the homeless stranger appears in the sequels, but in the first movie, instead of him feeling like a fleshed-out human being, he's relegated to purely being a plot device.
I'm not dying tonight.
A metaphor for humanity's inhumanity to man, and eventually he's a deus ex machina in the end. Characterizations and the dynamics between the characters ring hollow. They all feel so isolated from each other, like even when the villains are fucking up Ethan Hawke, it feels like they're miles away from each other, like somehow they're not in the moment together. The performances in this movie aren't remarkable, but I think the writing of the film is what ultimately lets it all down.
I'm going to go hide in your secret spot. Alright, I love you.
It feels like this film was just made to get the movie's concept off the ground to launch a larger franchise. None of the set pieces really stand out, and I can only vaguely remember the deaths in this film. They all felt very anticlimactic. If there was more of an attempt towards forging stronger bonds between the characters over the course of the film, then certainly I'd get a little more invested in the proceedings for the suspense to work on at least a basic level where I care what happens to any of these people, but I just couldn't. Maybe the Purge sequels are better, that's what I've heard at least. I'd hope so, given this franchise's success with 5 films, a TV series, and a 6th film on the way. I guess it could also mean that most people have shitty taste in movies, I don't know. Point is, the original Purge is a mediocre movie I really wanted to end. It's one of those things where, sure, it's not a bad movie, but a bad movie can still be so bad it's good, where you can have some fun, and there are even good movies that ultimately won't stick with you, but with this movie, it's the worst case scenario, a forgettable middle-of-the-road film. Even with really bad movies, you can at least get riled up about them for wasting your time and killing your brain cells. With The Purge, I can't muster up any strong emotions. It just exists. I give The Purge a creepy Tom Cruise mask out of regular creepy Tom Cruise. Huh, what are those sirens going off? If you liked this video, like it, and if you loved it, click the subscribe and bell buttons for more vids. I'd also like to thank these fine folks pledged my shout-out tier on Patreon for all their kind support. Videos like this wouldn't be possible without all their help. Thank you for watching, see you next time. Dr. Wolfula signing out.